see where to start. In the game the other day, really nothing much has changed from my post-game comments. I think probably the biggest disappointment I came away with is the lack of what I call just kind of juice starting the second half. Auburn had a little bit to do with that. But I thought in the first half, we seemed to, if we could have made a few plays here and there and we had a chance, which you have to against teams like that in that kind of environment. You got to make those plays, and you make one or two of them, and and you hang in there a while, and that's kind of been the what we've tried to do in the past. But anyway, it didn't work out. To win a game like that, you have to control the ball. You kind of have to control it, keep your defense off the field, and that's not how it worked out. When they run 85 and you run 64, something like that, 63, 64, that's not a good recipe to beat a team like that. But give Auburn credit, and they came out and just kind of pounded us a little bit, and we came up, they threw it, we backed off, they ran it. And defense, as far as us on offense, like I said, we had a few chances to make a few plays, but just didn't make them. But they have a really good defense. I'm impressed, and I was impressed the other night, and I'm even impressed more after I watched the film with the guys they have over there. I think they have a really, really good defensive football team, and obviously the best we've played this year. So hopefully we'll move forward. We did have one injury. Bobby Reynolds will be out, not for the rest of the year, but he'll be out sometime, whatever. He hurt his elbow the other night in the game, but nothing else that happened in the game the other night I think will prevent anybody from playing. Should not. I'm hoping that we get Marcus Hubbard back. We're going to try that this week. And I thought he had a great game against Georgia Southern until he got hurt as a free safety. Hoping to get Marcus McCray back. Marcus actually got... I'm sorry, you want me to start over? Marcus actually got banged up in practice last week, and in the week before in the open week practice, Devin Jackson suffered an ankle injury, whatever. So we kind of pretty much held those guys out. That's why Bobby Reynolds was the center, and Jeff Savage moved back to guard. But I'm hoping we can. Certainly with Bobby out, I think we can get Devin back this week. I think we can get McCray back. Hoping to get Hubbard back, and I said Bobby was the only thing that I would consider, anything of serious nature injury-wise coming out. So, Idaho coming in here, I think they've done a really nice job this year. When you look at what they've done, 2 tough games against Washington and Washington State, but they had a good victory over UNLV. Beat Montana State earlier this year. Offensively, they have some balance, and Linehan, this is his 3rd year to start, I guess. And he's a good football player. He kind of makes the whole thing go. They're kind of like us in a sense. They're receiver by committee when you look at it. The receptions are spread out among a bunch of guys. Defensively, they got really big guys up front, and that's kind of the first thing that jumped out at me. And second thing is they're very multiple. So hopefully we can kind of zero in on some things and kind of figure out kind of in the beginning of the game what their theme is for that particular week for us and what they see in us. And I'm sure we'll have to make some adjustments because they've done some things, a good number of things in the first 5 weeks defensively and stuff. So, but anyway, of course, and then the other thing too that's certainly a weapon for them is their punter. And I think I've read something over the last 3 years. He's got a better punting average than anybody else has in that span of time. But he's a weapon, not only with his length, but he's got great hang time too. And I know he doubles up as a kicker. So they're sound in the kicking game. So we're excited to get back home. It's been a while since we've been here, and excited to get back into the Sun Belt.
I guess to start out with, at the end of the game there at Auburn, Garrett took a pretty big shot, and he kind of got banged around pretty good. How is he feeling today?
He feels good. He actually came in yesterday, and he feels good. And that was a situation, too, that was 100% my fault. And I made the call. Will was going to play the fourth quarter, and we had an extended drive, so I didn't want to take Garrett out in the drive. We went down, we got stopped on 4th down, and then they went on however long that drive was. So Will never got in the game. And as a quarterback, I wouldn't want to go in for one play at the half-yard line. So put Garrett back in, hand the ball off up the middle, we're going home, and just so happened to have a bad snap. So I didn't want to put Will in that situation. Like I said, one play, to get in there at the half-yard line, that's tough. So I just told Garrett to get back in there and told Coach Kubik just hand the ball off up the middle and let's get out of here. And just so happened to be a bad snap. Obviously, I wasn't anticipating that. So.
How tough the road trip was to be back home and kind of just rejuvenate the energy of the team.
I hope so, and we'll find out a little bit more today, when the players get back in. And so far, they work out on Monday mornings. It seems to be going good, and I really hope so. And I hope they're excited about getting back home, and hope they're excited about, getting into, what I consider, now really the meat of our schedule. When you look at it, and you play an FCS team, you play 2 Power 5 teams that are both pretty good. Georgia Southern was in the middle, but we got a 7-game stretch here before we actually have an open week, and so I'm hoping that they're really excited about that.
So does the approach change now because it's the meat of the schedule?
No, doesn't change at all. Not in terms of what we're doing practice-wise or whatever. Anytime you have an open week, you make a few changes, just because it's open week, and how you kind of handle that moving forward. But no, in terms of what we're doing in practice and routines and all that. No, I think we're getting better at what we're doing from a practice standpoint, from a preparation standpoint. Although it may not have showed last week, I do believe that we're improving in that area, and becoming a little bit more consistent preparation-wise, and what you have to do, in my opinion, however you want to say it, dot the I's, cross the T's, check the boxes, whatever, in terms of each week how we have to prepare. So we're going to continue to do that.
Was that the biggest thing then about building a program as you guys try to get this up and going is, some of this stuff may not show up on the scoreboard or on the field per se, but you see these things in practice and as guys go about their business every day?
I've definitely seen, some improvement, and no question. And, I think it's huge in what you're doing, if you're trying to build it long term, which is what I'm trying to do. It's what I try to do at McNeese and wherever else I've been. But I try to build what I believe is a long-term program and something that can be stable through the years. If not, then we would have took all transfers and just sold it out and tried to win as many as we could right away. But I'd rather try to do it what I would perceive as the right way. And it's a process, so to speak. And anyway, I'm satisfied. I say satisfied. I'm not satisfied. I'm happy with the progression, I think, but I still think we have a ways to go just to get, what I would like to see. Nothing, I have no idea what they've done in years past and don't care. Just what I would see in terms of consistent preparation where you get great effort, great every week, and, and how you win, how you lose, how you react to that, what we do moving forward. I would like to, there's some things that I would still like to see us improve on.
Time frame in your mind for a process like that, or is it
No.
just case-by-case basis?
That's just, right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to win as many games as we can right now, but still trying to put in things that we think are going to help us, long-term wise and stuff. And that's what I did from the get-go. That was what we did coming in here. We've obviously, we had some players leave last year after spring, and we had a couple leave before I got here, but not by me. Hey, if you want to stay. We'll do we're going to try to win every game we can and stuff. But because that's just the approach I've always had, and that's the approach we took here. It's not the approach that some take. Go in there and y'all all got to leave, and we're going to start. And I don't. That's just not the way I've done it, and I don't think you have to do it that way. But by the same token, you do keep some guys, and there's some guys sometimes that are not quite as bought in as others. But my eyes is getting them to do the things we want to do now in a short period of time, and getting the younger players, really headed in that direction as well.
What does Idaho look like?
Excuse me?
What does Idaho look like?
I think offensively, they're a balanced football team. When you look at them, they have some elements of the power run game in there, and then they'll spread you out, and Linehan can become a runner too in his own read. So if you look at it, I look at them as a a balanced offense between a pro style deal with some of the running stuff they do, and then they'll spread you out, and then they look like a lot of teams, and stuff. So I see kind of a mixture of both, but Linehan kind of makes it go. that he's got the ability to do both. He can set his feet in the pocket and throw it down the field off of pro-style stuff. He can spread it out and zone read you and RPO you. He can do that too. So my thinking is, I didn't see him last year, just looking at him, and I think they've expanded because of him. That he can do multiple things, and I'm assuming that's why they do it.
You've had 4 games with this group, kind of get to know them and get acclimated to them, and I think it's fair to say you found that these guys will go in the game and they'll play hard for you. But what else have you learned as this group as you've been around them?
It's a good question, really. I think that which I'm not. That doesn't surprise me. We got a bunch of great kids that anywhere I've ever been and around any group of kids, they want to win. Trust me. I think it's just given the formula or how you're doing it, and this is how we're going to do it. And I don't think it's any different if I tried to do it with a bunch of adults. Trust is a huge thing. I think once kids trust you and they understand that we're doing everything for the betterment of you, then I think the process speeds up and stuff. And but like I said, they're great kids. I think we have some good players, without a doubt. Do we need to continue to recruit? Well, absolutely. I mean, we have to do that. But what I'm saying is, and I keep telling them that in here. I mean, them kids can tell you that. I keep telling them in there, we have a lot of talent in this room. We have to do the right things with the talent, work whatever in terms of just, you can't go over and play like we did against Georgia Southern and not have any talent. We got some talented kids, in the room and doing what we're doing, and I keep telling them that. And heck, I've been telling them that since this spring. But what you do with that talent is going to separate whether we're going to, whether we're going to win or lose. And I think the other thing that's a little different about this situation, too, when you go in, is the fact that there's probably, in my experience, there's a bigger number of guys, and that's not an excuse, trust me. There's a bigger number of guys that they haven't been on the field, and probably from my experience and what I've seen, they have to get used to being on the field and get experience and learn how to handle situations or whatever, especially on the defensive side. We got a bunch of guys that, you go back and look at the tapes from last year and the last 2 years, we got a bunch of guys that have never been on the field, and they've never taken what I consider, what I always call their snaps and their significant snaps. And you can say, well, this guy got X number of snaps last year. Were they significant snaps? Were they in a game that was close and was competitive and was right down to the wire? Were they in those kind of games and stuff? So I mean, I think the more you do it, the better off you are in terms of gaining that experience, so to speak. So when people talk about experience, my idea of experience, football players are guys that have been through the grind and understand it's how you have to prepare week by week by week, because it's physical and you got to get yourself back going each and every week. The other thing I look at in terms of experiences and situations and games. So when I talk about experience, I don't talk about all these kids have played football, but it's learning how to be in those situations, those environments, and how to consistently prepare each and every week to be a winning competitive college football team and stuff. And it just is. I mean, I think experience and going through that helps that process and stuff, and just understanding what it takes. Because I mean, you guys that have done it, played college football and been around it, I mean, it's a grind, and I think understanding that grind and having enough guys that understand what's going on in that grind, I think helps you out.
You mentioned the grind to be away from home for a month. I mean, obviously you'll have a bye week, but to not play here for a month, I mean, does that affect the grind at all?
I don't think so, no. I really don't. And, like I said, playing at home is great, and I think the players are obviously going to be excited about getting it home, but I don't, getting back home, but no, I don't think so. We travel good here, and kids are well taken care of, and it's just, but no, hopefully they're excited to be back at home. Maybe sleep in your own bed,
Both Georgia Southern and Auburn had success on the run. You mentioned Idaho's power run game. Or is there a concern that they may try to key in on that?
It always is a concern. Different kind of running. Yeah, different kind of running from what we saw in those 2 weeks. Very different. And Auburn was a lot of, too, which I talked about in the press conference last week. Auburn's a lot of eye candy, a lot of unbalance, a lot of basically, if you go back and look at and break them down, and which I did for several years, Auburn's not doing a lot, but it looks like a lot with how they do it, and we were trying to copy a lot of the same stuff, and but no, this will be a different style of running, and of course, nothing's like Georgia Southern. So.
Defensively more prepared for power run game as opposed to the eye candy.
I hope so. Yeah, I do. I hope so. We have to execute and tackle and do all those types of things, but I think from an assignment standpoint, it'll be closer to what they see out here, in practice and against our offense.
You mentioned how multiple Idaho is on defense, and with dealing with all that, is that more on the offensive line or the quarterback to kind of identify those things and where the free rusher may be coming from and all the stuff that goes along with that?
Well, then they go hand in hand. It's on both, and obviously, the offensive line has to do a great job of identifying and seeing things, but it's also what we do in our system here. It's on the quarterback too. I mean, the quarterback is, quarterback really has, he's the one that makes the calls, and then even if he hears something, he has the ability to get out of that. Even if it's something that the line sees, because it's easier for the quarterback to see rotation, to see roof rotation than it is for linemen.
Cortez Cisco goes in last week, leads the team in tackles. David Griffiths led the team in tackles. Linebacker situations, that kind of just who has the hardest hand kind of thing, or is it just changed your place based on the scheme?
Actually, really, last week, and when I saw the stats, I looked at the same thing, because I didn't remember anything in the game with Chase Day or Griffin, whatever. But actually, David Griffin, I think, played 12 or 14 more plays than Cortez Cisco did. So I just think it was just a rotation deal, and the fact that Cisco was in great position on some plays and made some plays. But no, there was nothing, in terms of we were going to play a different guy. Because when you look at the breakdown of the linebackers or whatever, I think that Griffin and Day were pretty consistent, and Cortez was about 12, maybe 14 behind them, and Dunn was about 18 behind. So we have 4 linebackers. And that's all we have right now, in terms of, we have to recruit some more to come in. And since Braxton Moore got hurt early in the year, we had 5. So it's pretty much, Coach Stoker tries to just run them back and forth. So it really doesn't affect anything that we're doing, like which one of them's in there. I just think he's just trying to keep them as fresh as we can. And we've tried to limit what they're doing on special teams, because that's what we have.
Are there any, that's kind of interesting point you bring up there with the linebackers. Are there any other positions where you've kind of had to mix and match like this? And have you been in this position before, coaching
Yeah.
football?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've been in a position before that you have to mix and match stuff. But we have a few positions, but that's what recruiting's about. You got to try to build on that. We'll have to try to build on that next year. But no, we've had to do that, before, and especially numbers. Like I said, from a standpoint of, if you look at the 4 linebackers right now, that's fine if that's all you have, and that's what you play in the game. If if you have 4 guys, that's what you're going to play. I think numbers start getting you in special teams, because when you got to pull that guy out, because that guy's got to take more snaps, and then he goes, and that's where it starts to get you more than anything else. Marcus Hubbard was a starting free safety playing the majority of plays. Nick Ingram comes in. I think he's done a great job. But then we've tried to, since Marcus has been out, we've tried to scale Nick back on special teams. Okay, you be on this, because now you got to play 50 or 60 snaps rather than 20 or 25 snaps. So the juggling, and that's on Palage, is go in there and tell him, and everybody's in there, and wait a minute, that guy, he's on all 4 special teams. We need to get him off, leave him on this one or this one, but pull him in, and that's where the numbers really start to get you more than anything else.
To kind of piggyback off that a little bit, though, and when you have to get creative with stuff like this, does that take you back to your high school days a little bit, when you just you got what you got, and you got to figure out how to make all this thing work?
Everything does. Yeah, it's all, it's relative in terms of what you're doing. It's coaching, it's relationships, it's moving people. It's, like I said, I always say that. I think that, what you, some of the things that I really learned that I think have carried over from high school is that, you have to get your guys in the best position. This is what you have, and I've always looked at it in terms of, here's the scheme, but how can the scheme adjust to these guys and stuff. So I've never really been a guy that, here's the scheme. You have to have guys that can play exactly this scheme. That's hard to do. And I think when you do that, you constrict yourself in recruiting so bad that, so what I've always tried to do is, here's a scheme, this is kind of what we're looking for, but let's go get the best players we can find. And if we have to, we'll adjust the scheme. And that's been my recruiting philosophy where I was for a long time, and we're going to do the same thing here. As coaches, we'll adjust. I mean, let's go get the best guys that we think we can get. And if it don't quite fit this guy, and we've done it really at every position where I come from, and hopefully maybe we can get something established here where we're not doing it as much, but we're still going to do it to a certain extent.
Coach, how concerned are you on the kicking situation? Last 3 kicks that game, they've gotten a hand on it, even on the PAT.
Very concerned, and that's something we got to clean up protection-wise. The other night, that whatever number 1 is 340 pounds, and he just comes barreling in there. But still, we have to, we definitely have to shore that up, no question about it.
You mentioned you did the schedule. I guess how important is it to get off on the right track with this game at home, being the schedule kind of builds?
I think it would obviously, it would help a lot of things if we could, but we'll just have to see. But no, I agree with you. There's no doubt. This would be I think a big boost if we could win this game. But anyway, we'll just have to see how it plays out.